We're here on a initial permanency hearing. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Baldwin, the father, is with us. Mr. Pirtle, his lawyer, is not with us yet. And the mother, Miss Hood, is with us, and her lawyer, Miss Grant, is not with us yet. We've got a full day today, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'll watch the waiting room for them. I do have Stephanie Corbett in the waiting room. Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I call Stephanie Corbett.
Okay. All right, Mr. Pirtle's joined us, so Ms. Wiggins, you can proceed.
Thank you, Judge. And when did you become the caseworker?
March.
Okay. And have you been in communication with both parents?
Yes, ma'am.
And are they doing well in communicating with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And in regards to Miss Hood, how is she progressing on her services?
We had a little bit of issue with payment on her wave classes, so we got that taken care of. She's doing that. Parenting, we've had a little bit of an issue with, and so I'm having to refer them back to a different parenting. So she's going to go back to Hope.
Okay. And when you say, I guess, okay, I'll rephrase my question. You indicated in your court report, and Judge, I would ask the court take judicial notice of that court report filed on May 9th of 2024.
All right, so noted. I have read the report, and for the record, Ms. Grant has joined us.
And it looks like, Ms. Corbett, that Ms. Hood finished her counseling 6 sessions, but is continuing on with that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you indicated in your report that there were some current concerns with current domestic violence. Where did you get that information from?
I have received 2 intake calls over domestic violence between the 2 of them. I staffed it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you discussed that with Ms. Hood or Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, ma'am.
And what has Ms. Hood said about that?
Miss Hood said they both were doing domestic violence, basically.
Okay, so there was domestic violence going both ways. Her as the aggressor and him as the aggressor.
Yeah.
And Mr. Baldwin, has he started BIP?
Yes, ma'am.
And you indicated that we had a little bit of an issue with the WAVE program, but Ms. Hood is in that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in regards to her counseling, have you discussed the issues with the continuing domestic violence with her counselor so that can be addressed in counseling?
I have through email some.
Okay. And in regards to Marcus, he has not started his counseling. Is that correct?
No, he completed his counseling, but he's continuing his as well.
Okay, great. And do you believe that needs to be ordered, or are they good at going to their counseling?
I believe they're good at going.
Okay. And are they in need of any drug screens?
Not today, no.
And have there been a concern with the drug screens?
Yes.
And is that being addressed through new OSAR evaluations?
They both have completed an OSAR. I believe Marcus was to do some outpatient, and Aaliyah was to go to Synacor. She went to Synacor. She told me as of Friday, so I haven't got to confirm that Synacor said that she did not need to be there. And she gave me a name and number for someone to call, but I have not got to call that person yet.
Okay, but that was ordered on her OSAR or recommended on her OSAR?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you wanting to make that a court order as
yes,
per recommendation? Okay. And what is that, the outpatient Serenity program?
No, Synacor would have been inpatient in Amarillo.
Okay. And okay.
It doesn't specify in or outpatient. It just says go to Synacor.
Okay, then I guess we'll wait on that recommendation to be confirmed by you. Are there any other, I guess, so are we asking though that the program, Synagor program, be ordered for Mr. Baldwin, the outpatient?
His didn't say it had to be Synacor, but yes, outpatient, yes, ma'am.
Is that the program he's attending?
He's told me as of last week he hadn't heard from the outpatient. So I sent an email to the person who did his OSAR, but they are out of the office. So I was waiting to hear back from them.
Okay, so we're just asking for, in general, him to be ordered to complete an outpatient drug treatment program.
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, what is visitation?
Both parents separately get 2 hours. They split that 2 hours into twice a week. So it's 1 hour twice a week. Sorry.
That's
And
okay.
then they were getting a 30-minute virtual. We have moved that virtual to in person. So it's 1 hour and then 1.5 hours.
Okay. Now, in regards to the case, both parents have not completed all of their services. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
And they currently are still having issues with anger, controlling that anger, and domestic violence between them. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
And currently they are screening to where it is a concern for the department for drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, are we asking that the children remain in their current placement?
Yes, ma'am.
The child, I'm sorry. And where is she currently placed?
She's with kinship, the grandparents.
And how is
Marcus
she
is,
doing?
sorry.
Marcus
How is
is,
she? Yes,
okay, how is she doing there?
she's doing good.
Can you
She's
elaborate?
thriving. She's not quite walking, but she can pull herself up. She can stand on her own. And she's almost there on walking. She's eating good. She hasn't quite started talking yet either, but
Okay, and she has some ECI in the home, is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
And they are working with her on those things.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in regards to the child, do you believe it would be contrary to the child's welfare to be placed back with either parent today?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you would be believe it would be a danger to the child to be returned to either parent today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ms. Corbett,
Yes.
if I read the report correctly, I read that both parents are doing the Padre program. What program is that? I thought that was probably some kind of substance abuse.
Padre's parenting, and they were, since my court report was filed, they were both kicked out of Padre.
Okay, all right. So both of them, we may not know which one for the mother, but both of them need to do some kind of substance abuse program.
Yes.
All right. And we've had, well, January, March, and April, we had positive marijuana tests on both parents, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Ms. Grant, any questions?
No additional questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Pirtle,
No questions.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Wiggins, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
All right, Ms. Grant, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Pirtle.
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator. Continue placement as is. Child's doing well with grandmother.
All right, then, I will continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue the current placement of the child. I'll order both parents to complete a substance abuse program, and they may have to do some kind of other testing to see what kind of substance abuse program they need, but I will order some type of substance abuse program for both parents to successfully complete. All right, our next hearing will be a permanency hearing on September 9th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of September 9th to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. All right, we'll stand in recess on this case. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 9:30. Permanency hearing as well as a motion for monitored return filed by the father. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. I say that. Yeah, there he is. Okay. Ms. Grant is with us representing the mother, Ms. Hood. Ms. Grant, I don't see her. Were you expecting your client?
She was in, Judge. I don't know if she dropped off. Yes, she is. She's waving there, Judge.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Ms. Hood is with us.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. And then Mr. Pirtle's with us representing the father, Mr. Baldwin, who's also with us. Okay, just so we'll know how to handle this hearing, let me ask, is everybody read the father's motion for monitored return? And does anybody have objections to it?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. So I want to handle this. We'll cover everything in the one hearing. We'll cover the permanency part as well as anything anyone wants to offer concerning the father's motion for a monitored return. Okay, Ms. Wiggins, first witness.
I call Stephanie Corbett. And how is she doing in placement?
She's doing very well.
Now, in regards to the mother, is she working her services?
Yes, she's working now.
And she has not completed all of them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And in regards to the mother, is she currently living here in Amarillo?
Yes, ma'am.
And is she working on drug treatments and things like that.
Yes,
And there is domestic violence or was domestic violence at the start of this case between the two parents. Is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
And in regards to that, now I guess Mr. Baldwin, when did he indicate he moved to Austin?
It was about 2.5 weeks ago.
And now today he's telling you he moved back to Amarillo. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so the department, as you stated in your report, we are concerned with his housing stability. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now he's also living right now. He indicated today that he's living back with Miss Hood. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do we have some issues with continued domestic activity between the two of them?
They've argued back and forth, but I haven't seen any domestic violence in probably the last month or so.
Just in the last month?
Last month or two, yes.
Okay. And have you seen evidence of possible violence at the apartments where they are both residing?
Not in the last 2 months.
Okay. But that's still a concern for the department. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was possible domestic going on while Mr. Baldwin was completing the Batter's Intervention and Prevention Program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he just completed that early August. Is that right?
It may have been the end of July, but I got confirmation beginning of this month. Yes, ma'am.
Now, in regards to Mr. Baldwin, is he still working on his parenting?
He completed it. I got the certificate 2 weeks ago.
Okay. And what about his Synacor outpatient treatment? He's still working on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And in regards to Mr. Baldwin, do we believe there would be still a continuing danger to the child if the child was returned home to him and Miss Hood's home?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that due to his instability in the fact that he, I guess, moved to Austin for 2.5 weeks and now has moved back in the home with Miss Hood?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he indicate at all that he had a plan when he was in Austin for childcare or resources or anything like that?
I did not ask.
Okay. Had he told you, though, that he was going to
No.
ask for a monitored return?
He asked me if he could. I told him that that's something he needed to discuss with his attorney.
Okay. And so did he indicate when he wanted to file for one, if he had a plan or anything for Cloudy to be returned home?
No, ma'am.
Now, in regards to Miss Hood, you indicated she's still working services as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And while the child, or while the department does not believe the child is safe to return home today, both parents are still working services and making progress.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the current visitation?
They get 4 hours a week, which is split in half. So they get 2 2-hour visits.
And those are separate, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Ms. Grant?
Ma'am, do you have any objection to increasing the visitation with Cloudy and the mother?
That would be up to my supervisor. That's something I can stop with her.
Okay, so you'd be willing to staff that request and get back with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Mr. Pirtle?
Has my client completed all services or almost completed all services?
Almost completed.
I pass the witness.
Mr. Ingram?
If, pardon me. If mom and dad are living back together, is there any reason that visitation still needs to be separated?
That was a court order. I'm just following what the court order was.
All right. Do you believe it would be in Cloudy's best interest and make it a lot easier on her schedule-wise and on grandmother's schedule-wise if visits were put back together?
If that's what the parents would like, yes, I don't have a problem with that.
Pass witness.
Okay. Anyone have further questions for Ms. Corbett?
Just one clarifying point. And now Mr. Baldwin has moved back into Miss Hood's home, but they're not, or they haven't told you they're in a relationship. Is that correct?
That's correct.
He's staying on the couch and she's in the bedroom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Nothing further, Judge.
Anyone else? All right. Ms. Corbett, I think they touched on this. The basis of this case was not only some drug use, but also continued domestic violence, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And from the report I read, the mother was positive for marijuana in January, March, and April of this year, then negative in May, June, and July. And then when the report was written, we had a pending for August. Was there anything in the, number one, have you gotten the test results back?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was there anything in those test results that gave you concern?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
The test went up from her last hair.
All right. And then as far as Mr. Baldwin's concerned, he was positive for marijuana in January, March, and April of this year, negative in May, positive in June, negative in July. And then we also had pending tests for him for August. Did you get those results back?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was there anything about that that was concerning to you?
No.
Okay. So would you agree with me that neither one of them has had anywhere close to 6 months of sobriety?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. If there's no other questions for Ms. Corbett, Ms. Wiggins, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Grant, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the mother just requests that if visitation is combined, perhaps the length could be 3 hours versus 2, and that's all we have.
Do you know your client's not with us? Well, yes, she is.
Yes, she
we
is.
can ask her if we need to, but does she have any problem having visitation go back joint with Mr. Baldwin?
Let me call her and
Okay.
ask her.
Okay.
Judge
Yeah, we
Aaliyah,
can
could you unmute?
Yeah, let's do that then, because I'd want to know that. So, all right. Ms. Hood, if you would unmute, please.
Thank you, Judge. Aaliyah, did you hear the testimony about potentially putting visitation with Cloudy back with you and the father together?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you agreeable to do that?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
And if that's done, would you be requesting a longer visit?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree to 3 hours for each visit versus 2 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that help your grandmother and Cloudy's schedule?
Yes, ma'am.
And if the judge allows that, what day of the week works best for you?
Any day of the week works well. I believe it is mostly about Marcus's schedule.
Okay, pass the witness. Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Wiggins, any questions for her?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Pirtle, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. Thank you. All right. Then, Ms. Grant, did you have any other witnesses?
I do not, Your Honor. We would agree to any visitation that could work with the father's schedule and putting it back together if the court allows.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Pirtle, do you have any witnesses?
Your Honor, I'd like to call my client.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Pirtle.
All right. Thank you, Judge. Mr. Baldwin, are you asking the court to place your child back with you today?
Yes, I would like that, please.
I pass the witness.
All of my services except for the outpatient service, which will be over September 4th.
All right.
All right.
Ms. Wiggins, did you have questions for him?
Yes. Mr. Baldwin, why did you move back from Austin?
So we were putting tow trucks in Austin, and the guy that was driving the tow truck that I brought to Austin completely messed up the truck to the point where we were unable to use it for the last 3 days. And the goal is for me to move there and use the tow truck and make money off of it. But since he put us back about $2,000 to fix the truck, my boss decided that he'd prefer to have the truck in Amarillo, where he can keep an eye on it and he can maintain it easier. And since I've moved back just last night, I've already gotten 5 tows, and we've already made more money today than we had an entire day in Austin. So
Okay.
my boss decided
And-
that it'd be best to move back to Amarillo for money's sake.
Okay. And in regards to your living situation, where are you going to be living?
I'm currently living at the apartment that I pay for and provide for Aaliyah. We are doing just fine right now. We're accepting the living situation just fine. I do plan on moving out possibly. We both are looking for different places. We're going to figure out where we would like to live once we have our daughter back, for sure. Currently, we have no problem living with each other. We don't argue anymore or any of that kind of stuff. Our services have actually helped us quite a bit with all of that. So we don't see a problem with us both taking care of our daughter and not being together. And if we choose to be together in the future, that's up to us. And that's what y'all have been telling us. That's what CPS specifically has
Okay.
been telling us.
I'm going to stop you right now. Mr. Baldwin, thank you.
It's
Now,
fine.
in regards to your living situation, you just moved back here to Amarillo last night. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I was trying to come
And-
back 3 days
Sir,
ago, but the truck was down.
Mr. Baldwin, if you will, just answer the question you're asked and quit expanding on your answers.
Now, in regards to this situation, you understand that we still have concerns with drug use from Ms. Hood as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I understand that hair follicles showed more in her system, but y'all realize that hair follicles
Stop,
don't
Mr.
Mr.
work
Baldwin,
like magic.
Mr. Baldwin, answer only the question you're asked and quit expounding.
And so you understand that now that you reside with Ms. Hood, that because of that, we have to consider both your past and her past as well.
Well, I have the money to move out immediately if it gets me my daughter back. I don't care about
and
what
the-
she's doing. So
and who would be your child care provider?
I will find one. It is not hard. This place is full of daycares and various things. And my parents, I'm sure, would still provide daycare for her if necessary.
And in regards to your situation with Miss Hood, when was the last time y'all engaged in a physical altercation?
Many months ago.
Okay. And that was during the course of this case, is that correct?
Yes.
We'll pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Grant?
Mr. Baldwin, are you opposed to visiting your child along with Ms. Hood, or do you prefer to stay separate in the visitation?
I'm totally fine with us having visits together. That's what we wanted from the beginning. We were doing just fine doing that. It was y'all that made it separate, not us.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. Anyone have anything else for Mr. Baldwin? All right, then, Mr. Purtle, do you have any other witnesses?
No, Judge.
All right, Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement with the grandparents. I'm opposed to the monitor's return today.
Okay.
We may get to that point before dismissal, but it's premature, I believe, today. And also, I believe it would be in the child's best to combine visits.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then, I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator. I'll continue the child's current placement. I'll order that the parents' visitation be combined for a total of 3 hours weekly. And I am going to, at least today, I'm going to deny the father's motion for monitored return of the child. Okay, I'll set a final in this case for November 18th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearings, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of November 18th to determine exactly what time we'll have that hearing. All right, that will conclude this hearing. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 1 o'clock to call
Permanency
another
hearing.
Randall County case.
Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Ms. Archer's with us representing the father, Mr. O'Brien, who is not with us, and I do show that he's been released from incarceration. Mr. Taylor's not with us representing the mother, Miss Oakley, who is also not with us. We'll go ahead and get started as we've got a full docket today. I'll watch the waiting room to see if anyone else, any other parties come in. I do have Rachel Peoples in the waiting room.
She's my worker, Judge. Thank you,
Okay.
Judge. I would call Rachel Peebles. And how is Zyler doing in his placement?
He's doing very well. He's still receiving speech therapy and occupational therapy twice a week in the home. His speech is improving. He's a sweet boy. He loves dinosaurs and he loves like sea animals. So he's doing very well.
And where is he placed?
He's with his aunt and uncle.
And you indicate, and he's 4 years old. Is he in any type of school or daycare?
No, she stays at home with him.
And you indicated he's making progress with his speech. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I don't have the speech notes, but over the past couple of months, since I've been on this case, I've been able to see his speech improve every time I go see him monthly, and he's picking up on more words and I'm starting to understand what he's saying. So.
And in regards to the father, is he out of Potter County Jail?
He is.
When did he get released approximately, if you don't have the exact date?
I believe he was released in, I think it was March or February.
Okay, so he's been out for a couple of months. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And has he contacted you in that time that he's been out?
He has not.
And before he was released from Potter County Jail, were you in communication with him at the jail?
I was seeing him monthly.
And when you were seeing him, did you go over the service plan and did you indicate that upon his release he should contact you?
Yes.
Did you also give him the number for you so he could contact?
I did.
And was that discussed one time or multiple times?
I wrote my number on the family plan of service that I gave to him, and it was on his plan of service, but it was discussed multiple times to just contact me when he was going to get out, because he wasn't sure when he was going to be released. When I would see him monthly, I was like, well, if you're out, just please give me a call when you get out.
And was it explained to him that once he's out, he would need to communicate with you so he could start working services on the plan?
Yes, and he did express interest that he wanted to start working services and do his things.
Okay. And since he is released, do you have a good contact number, or have you been able to reach out yourself?
I don't have a good contact number. I've gone by the addresses listed on his finders search that we did on him. I also messaged him on Facebook. Did not hear back.
And do you believe you've exhausted all efforts to try to locate him at this time?
Yes, I will keep trying every month, but I cannot find him.
Okay. And previous to that, at the time of removal, he was homeless. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, I believe he was living in a tent.
Now, in regards to the mother, how is she progressing on services?
She has done a few services, has not completed anything besides her first OSAR. She did complete her first OSAR at the beginning of this case.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Very good. She did also complete a mental health assessment at TPC.
Has she done any of the recommendations following those?
She has not, no.
So she has not taken any classes to address her drug use or anything like that?
No.
And does she have stable housing?
No, she does not. I was able to locate her last week, and she has been living in a motel for a week.
Now, in regards to her screens, per your court report, has it been difficult for her to get her to screen for you?
Yes, I was unable to locate her in April. I tried multiple times to find her and was unable to locate her, so could not send her to screen.
Now, when you located her a week ago, were you able to take her to drug screen?
I was.
And did she complete a UA and a hair follicle?
Yes.
And did you receive the hair follicle results this morning?
I did.
And were they concerning for the department?
Yes, very concerning.
Okay. Was she positive for the same substances she had been positive before?
Yes.
And was it at extremely high levels?
Yes.
Now, in regards to her visitation, what is her current visitation?
When we were unable to get a screen from her in March, after she missed her screen with her son on March 27th, I went to the hotel she was living at then and was unable to get her to do an oral swab for me or do it for me to take her to UA. She refused to go do that. So after that, we've halted the visits, and she has not had a visit since March 21st.
And before that, was she consistent with her visits?
No, we had stopped the visits at the beginning of this case in November, and then we resumed them in December. And since December, she had missed 4 from December until that March 27th date.
Do you believe it would be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
And do you believe it would be a danger to the child's safety and welfare if he was returned today?
Yes.
And do you believe that his current placement should be continued?
Yes.
And has there been a goal change in this case?
Yes, we goal changed about, I believe it was 3 months ago.
Okay. And was that due to mom's lack of progress?
Yes.
And the father at that time was currently incarcerated, is that right?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ms. Peoples, you may not know the answer to this, but was Mr. O'Brien, when he was released from jail, had he completed a sentence of some type, or did he finally bond out and still has pending charges, or do you know?
I tried to call and get a little bit of clarity, but I was unable to really know what was going on.
Okay, all right. And I read in your report that the current placement, the aunt and uncle, they're meeting all of Zyler's extensive needs. And I assume you mean by that, at the original report I read at the beginning of this case, he was malnourished, nonverbal, and developmentally delayed. So I assume that's the medical or the extensive needs that the aunt and uncle are handling.
Yes.
Okay. And it sounds from your testimony today like he is in fact doing a lot better than when he came into care.
He is. He's doing very well.
Okay. With the goal change or the aunt and uncle, are they a potential long-term placement?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Archer, questions?
Well, that was one of them. I was wondering if he was on probation or not, because I thought maybe I could find my client's probation officer, but
yeah,
I'll try to reach out to his last attorney. Have you done that?
I tried to call his last attorney and couldn't reach him. I did call and they did say that he didn't have a probation officer.
Okay. Okay, I guess my only other question was, when he was incarcerated, did you give him a parenting packet?
I did, yes.
Did he ever return that to you?
He did not.
Okay. And did you try reaching out to Devin O'Brien's parents?
I was able to locate his stepmom. I didn't get to speak to his dad who was there, but I did ask her if she could give me any information regarding to where he was, and she said she didn't know. She knew he was out, but that she just didn't know where he was at. And I've gone by what I believe to be is his mom's home, and there's been no answer.
Okay, well, thank you. That will help me know where to pick up, and I'll keep trying as well. But if you hear from him before I do, please let me know.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Anything further, Ms. Archer?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ingram, any questions?
No questions.
All right. Ms. Wiggins, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Archer, anything further?
Nothing further.
Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Yes, sir. Continue department's temporary managing conservator. Continue placement as is. Child's doing very well in placement. Also recommend that all visitation for both mother and father cease until further court order.
Okay. All right, then. I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue Zyler's current placement. I'll order the parents' visitation will be suspended until further court order. I will set a final in this case for July 29th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two before July 29th to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. Okay, we'll stand in recess on this case. For those of you Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Michelson is not with us. Hang on, Mr. Cervantes just showed up in the waiting room. Mr. Michelson is not with us. He represents the mother, Miss Stanley. We'll see if she happens to be with Mr. Cervantes. I do have Abigail Lawrence in the waiting room. Is she involved in this case?
Yes, Your Honor. That's my assigned caseworker for this one.
Okay. All right, then. Let me ask you before we get started. Have you done the paternity test that you requested?
No, sir. Honestly, I mean, there's no excuse for it, but I did not remember. I didn't set at least like a scheduled reminder on my phone. I was up in the morning. I guess so caught up whenever I'm working. I just went straight to work, and about halfway through my job shift, I realized, wait a minute, what's today's date? And I realized that I had missed it again, and I was like, man, they're not gonna have a lot of patience for me if I just keep missing this stuff.
Did you contact anyone from St. Francis to let them know that you'd just forgotten about it?
No,
that's a yes or no question.
No, I did not.
Okay, all right. When we're through this hearing, I'm going to put you in a waiting room with the caseworker, and I'll go ahead and just admonish you now. If you miss a couple of times, the court can go ahead and find that you are the father without the test. So if it's important to you to know the truth, you got to come through and get that done. Okay.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay. All right then. All right. Miss Stanley now is in the waiting room. Haley, I guess you can try to get a hold of Jay. That's not like him to miss hearings.
I did. I haven't heard anything back yet.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. For the record, Miss Stanley, the mother in this case, has now joined us. Again, her attorney, Mr. Michelson, is not with us. This case was set for 10 o'clock. It's 10:05. We've got a full docket today. We're going to proceed in his absence, and I will watch the waiting room. So, all right, Mrs. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. To inform the court, we do plan on asking the court to terminate Mr. Miguel Cervantes's parental rights based on him being an alleged father. And due to that, we are asking the court to appoint an attorney to him at this time, since we are about halfway in the case.
We're a little more than halfway because I'm going to be setting it for a final hearing today. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Let me. I think my son's got the TV on in the other room.
Okay.
Let me turn that off.
All right. While we're waiting, Haley, you can go ahead and be finding out who Mr. Cervantes' attorney will be so that we can notify him today.
Okay. I am so sorry about that.
That's all right. I didn't hear anything.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes, the department calls Abigail Lawrence as its witness.
Okay.
And did you prepare and file a court report on May 8th of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right. So noted, and I did read that report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Abigail, can you let us know how Gabriel is doing in his placement?
Gabriel is doing amazing in his placement. He's placed with his older brother, Angel, and he's been doing great. He's in OT, and that's been going really well for his low muscle tone. And then after a while in OT, they'll send a referral for PT. But overall, he's growing, and he's happy, and he's healthy.
Okay, and instead of the abbreviations, can you tell us what OT is?
Occupational therapy.
And what is PT?
Physical therapy.
Thank you. And is that placement taking care of all of his needs?
Yes.
And does he appear happy in that placement?
Yes.
Okay. And it looks like he had an ECI, early childhood intervention assessment a few months ago. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that?
I'm sorry, Ms. Gutierrez, excuse me for interrupting. Haley tells me the next lawyer on the list is Mr. Taylor, who's in our waiting room from a hearing he missed. That's going to be Mr. Cervantes' attorney. So I'm going to go ahead and let him in so he can just listen in. Mr. Cervantes, at the close of this hearing, I'm going to put you in a waiting room with, his name is William Taylor. He's going to be your new lawyer, and y'all can meet and try to figure out a time to get together and prepare for this final hearing. So give me just a second to bring him in and tell him what's going on.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Taylor, I know you missed the hearing. You were on our last hearing involving the O'Brien child. You missed that, but I'm bringing you in because in our current hearing, we've got an alleged father. And the department has announced they're going to attempt to terminate his rights based on being the alleged father. And you were next up on the list. So if you want to just listen in when we're through, his name is Miguel Cervantes, and I'll put you in a waiting room so that you guys can introduce yourselves to each other and determine when you can meet with Mr. Cervantes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, I won't ask you. You don't need to participate today. You can just listen in, though. So, all right. Sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Gutierrez. Go ahead.
That's okay, Your Honor. Let me see. Where was I apologize, Amy.
You were asking about
And it
ECI.
looked like he had an ECI, early childhood intervention assessment a few months ago. Is that correct?
Okay. Abigail, can you go ahead and answer that question about whether or not the child had an ECI assessment a few months ago?
Yes.
And is that what led to his enrollment in occupational therapy?
Yes.
Okay. And additionally, the child has a heart murmur. How is the treatment for that coming along?
Good. He hasn't been seen for that. They do have a date, and I can get that and report back to the court on that.
Did you include that? Did you include that date in your court report?
I did not.
Okay. Do you have that date available to you now?
I do not.
Okay. Once you have that date, would you just be sure to include it or the update from it in the next court report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How is Miss Stanley doing on her services?
Ms. Stanley hasn't made any progress with her services.
Okay. And did you meet with her last month in person?
I did.
And can you tell us what she said in that conversation?
We had a conversation and she agreed to all of the services. I made sure to let her know that I'm here to help her and can help with transportation, whatever she needs. I never heard back from her after that initial meeting.
Now, during that conversation, did you ask her whether or not she was willing to do a substance abuse program?
Yes.
And did she say whether or not she would be willing to do that?
Rebecca said that she would think about going to rehab.
And additionally, during that conversation, did she discuss her own methamphetamine use?
Yes.
And what did she state?
She stated that she was still currently using.
Was Miguel Cervantes present during this conversation?
Yes.
And did he say anything in response to Ms. Stanley's statements about using currently?
He did not.
Okay. And during that conversation, what did Mr. Cervantes say about his services, if anything?
Miguel wanted to do the paternity test first.
When you say first, what do you mean first as in before something?
Before services.
Are we asking the court to order drug screens today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a hair follicle and a urinalysis drug screen on both Mr. Cervantes and Ms. Stanley?
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to visitation, what is Rebecca Stanley's visitation with the child currently?
Rebecca has not had a visit with the child. She has been assigned a worker to supervise these visits. The worker hasn't had any response from her to set these up.
And considering that Ms. Stanley has admitted current use, are we asking the court to make any restrictions or reductions in visitation today?
Yes. No, in-person visits until those drug screens come back, I guess, until we get a first one to see a baseline. And the visits that she was offered are virtual because the child is placed in San Antonio. But she just needs to make contact so we can get those set up.
Now, what is Mr. Cervantes's visitation with the child?
We haven't set up any visitation for Miguel because we were waiting on the paternity test.
Has Mr. Cervantes asked for a visitation?
He has not.
And you mentioned earlier that the child is placed with an older sibling. Is that sibling the subject of a CPS removal case in Bexar County?
Yes.
And do you have any knowledge of what the status of that case is in regards to whether or not a final has occurred?
I do not have any knowledge.
Okay. Considering that neither parent is visiting the child or has taken any actions to address the drug use or the issues for removal, are we asking the court to schedule the final hearing in this case early?
Yes.
Do you feel that it would be contrary to Gabriel's welfare to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
And do you feel that doing so would present a danger to the child's physical health or safety?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Stanley, if you can hear me, unmute.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Stanley, we can't find your lawyer, Mr. Michelson. He's not gotten back with us. So do you have any questions you want to ask Ms. Lawrence today?
No, I haven't been able to get a hold of him either. My attorney, like since the last meeting, like I reached out and I haven't heard anything. No.
Okay, well, we'll keep trying to get him. If we can get a hold of him before this hearing's over, I can put you in a breakout room where you can visit with him today. Okay, Mr. Cervantes, do you have any questions you want to ask Ms. Lawrence today?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Ingram, any questions?
No questions.
All right, then, Ms. Gutierrez, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor, we do request that both parents be ordered to hair follicle and urinalysis drug screen. We request an early final be scheduled. We also ask that, well, as the court has already started the process for that, Mr. Cervantes be appointed an attorney so we can ask the court for termination based on him being an alleged father.
Okay. All right, Ms. Stanley, anything further that you need to tell the court today?
No.
Okay. Mr. Cervantes, anything else you want to tell the court today?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Ingham, recommendations?
Continue the department's temporary managing conservator. Continue placement as is. Child's doing well in placement with the sibling. I do believe it to be in child's best interest that all visitation be court ordered ceased until further order of the court and that a final be set.
All right. Give me just a second. All right, then. I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue the child's current placement. I'll order both Ms. Stanley and Mr. Cervantes to hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I'll order that both Ms. Stanley and Mr. Cervantes visitation be suspended until each has provided a negative hair strand and UA drug screen. And also for Mr. Cervantes, any visitation he would have will be suspended until he completes the court-ordered paternity testing, which he requested. All right, I'm going to set a final in this case for August 12th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of August 12th to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. Mr. Taylor, I will place you and Mr. Cervantes in a waiting room. In a breakout room, so y'all can discuss getting together. And you can stay in there as long as you'd like, but y'all can at least discuss your first meeting together. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
all right, Mr. Cervantes, you may be asked to join this breakout room, or it may just place you in there automatically. We're here on a final hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the mother, Ms. Standley. I don't see her in my waiting room. Mr. Michelson, were you expecting her?
I was, Your Honor.
Okay. Have you had any conversations with her recently?
I did last week, had a text conversation with her.
Okay. Well, she's not in my waiting room. And then the father, he's an alleged father, Mr. Miguel Cervantes. He is not in the waiting room. He had asked, when he applied for a court-appointed attorney, he'd asked for paternity testing. At the last hearing, the department indicated they were going to intend to terminate his rights. I'm showing Mr. Taylor, William Taylor was appointed. He's not in the waiting room either. Ms. Gutierrez, is that still the department's intent to terminate Mr. Cervantes?
Yes, Your Honor, it is our intent to terminate Mr. Cervantes's rights. If Mr. Taylor can't log on, Your Honor, I'd go ahead and request rescheduling this hearing. I think we are within ample time of the dismissal date. But
Yeah.
Your Honor, if I could get Abigail Lawrence and Keyshawn Mahone in, please.
Okay. I also have an Erica Corsi. Was she involved in this case?
She is, Your Honor. She's going, well, I was planning to have her be a witness if she could be
Okay.
allowed in as well.
Okay. And I'll tell you what, very briefly, Haley and Brittany are working remotely. I want to be sure before we're through with this that Bill Taylor actually got appointed. So give me just a second before I'll bring them in.
Okay.
I'll bring, and Miss Wiggins just joined us. I'll bring everybody in, but I'm going to send them a quick text message to be sure Mr. Taylor has been appointed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, I've got a copy of the order appointing Bill Taylor from May 20th of 2024.
Okay, that saves me having to interfere with them while they're trying to train. So thank you, Mr. Ingram. I will get us a reset date and I'll be back here in just a minute.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
I will reset to August 26th. Okay, as I've said then, I will grant the department's motion for continuance. I don't want to proceed on a termination case without any alleged or unknown father having counsel. So I will, we'll try to figure out why Mr. Taylor was not here. And then we will appoint for the unknown father. And then we will come back on August 26th to have this final hearing. Everybody can just check on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of August 26th to see exactly what time we'll have that.
On a final hearing, Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the mother, Ms. Standley. She's not in the waiting room. Mr. Michelson, were you expecting her?
I have not had recent contact with her, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Taylor's with us representing an alleged father, Mr. Cervantes. He is not in the waiting room. Mr. Taylor, were you expecting him?
I also have not had recent contact. I sent him the link, but I really don't expect him, Your Honor.
Okay, for the record, he's never appeared at any hearing. All right, and Mr. Saint is with us representing a potential unknown father. And obviously that person is not with us. So that accounts for everyone involved in the suit, parents being absent. This case was set for 1 o'clock. It's now about 1:02. I have Abigail Lawrence in the waiting room.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do want to inform the court that we have an investigator for this case that is unavailable to testify today. My intention is to proceed with Ms. Lawrence's testimony and then to request a recess.
How long a recess are you requesting?
Not very long, Your Honor. The investigator had to be out of town for a mandatory seminar and she was unable to attend this hearing.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is there a APD officer in the waiting room yet?
There is one that just joined. Well, somebody's just joined, Gatlin Keene.
Yes, I'd like to make Gatlin King my first witness.
Okay. All right, Ms. Lawrence, you can just stay where you are and I'll bring in the first witness. Ms. Gutierrez?
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer King, who do you work for?
The Amarillo Police Department.
Are you a certified police officer?
Yes.
How long have you worked for Amarillo Police Department as a certified police officer?
About 4 years.
And on December 16th of 2023, were you working as a patrol officer for APD.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you encounter or have an incident where you talked to Rebecca's family?
Yes.
Can you please tell us what that call out was for?
We got dispatched for multiple witnesses stating they seen a white male hitting a white female as they were walking across Georgia Street.
And when you arrived at that location, did you make contact with the victim?
Yes.
And who was the victim identified as?
Rebecca.
And was that Rebecca Stanley?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did she state had occurred?
She said that her and her boyfriend Miguel were drinking at some apartments located behind Waterstill, and they got into an argument. She wouldn't really speculate over what the argument was, but so they left, and when they were walking, that he started hitting her.
Did you witness yourself or observe any marks on her?
Yes, she had bruising on her arms, and I think a knot on her forehead.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to interview Mr. Cervantes on the scene?
No, when I arrived, witnesses said that he took off in a black vehicle.
And was any arrest attempt made for Mr. Cervantes?
Yes, I tried to locate him when I got on scene to see if I seen the car anywhere in the area, but I did not. So I went back to the scene to speak with Rebecca.
Okay. To your knowledge, was he later arrested for this incident?
To my knowledge, I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Michelson.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Also, no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Saint.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, then, if no one has anything further, can Officer King be excused?
No objection.
No objection.
Officer King, I'll remove you so you can go back to your afternoon's business. Thank you for your testimony and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
The department calls Abigail Lawrence as its witness. How old is Gabriel currently?
He's 8 months old.
Thank you. Did you prepare a service plan for both Rebecca Stanley and Miguel Cervantes during the case?
Yes.
And were those service plans made in order of the court at the status hearing?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that status hearing order accessible?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, Abigail, when you created the service plans, were they tailored to the issues in the case?
Yes.
And very briefly, what were the issues that caused the removal?
Both mom and baby tested positive for methamphetamines and marijuana at the time of delivery.
Right. And was there also a history of domestic violence suspected between the couple?
Yes.
Now, did these service plans aim to mitigate the reasons for removal?
Yes.
And were they the department's reasonable efforts to reunify the family?
Yes.
And were their services uniquely tailored for Mr. Cervantes?
Yes.
Can you please identify 2 or 3 services that were uniquely tailored for Mr. Cervantes?
We felt that Mr. Cervantes would strongly benefit from parenting classes, as well as an OSAR evaluation for the suspected drug use by the parties.
Now, an OSAR evaluation, is that a substance abuse assessment?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And during the investigation, did Mr. Cervantes admit to methamphetamine use?
Mr. Cervantes did not admit at that time, I believe.
Do you recall if the mother made any statements regarding his methamphetamine use?
I do not recall.
Okay. Now, what other services were uniquely tailored for Mr. Cervantes?
Counseling, I think that could have been helpful for both the parties, to deal with the issues of removal and any issues before the removal.
And would counseling also have helped to address the domestic violence issue between the parties?
Yes.
Now, specifically for Rebecca Stanley, what services were uniquely tailored for Rebecca Stanley?
For Rebecca, I think that the substance abuse evaluation would have benefited and, tailored to her and the issues of removal, and as well as the, I don't want to say the same for both of them, but I think counseling would have really helped Rebecca as well.
And was she also ordered to do a substance abuse evaluation through OSAR?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Do you have a copy of Rebecca's service plan in front of you?
Let me get it right. Yes.
Can you briefly state each service and whether or not it was completed?
Okay. The first thing that we were asking is that she keep in contact with me and comply with the family plan of service. Neither of those did she do. We were asking that she maintain stable housing and provide proof of employment. She did not. We were asking her to demonstrate proper parenting techniques during her visits. She was offered visitation when I saw her face to face in April, and she chose not to exercise her right to visitation. We were asking her to complete parenting classes. She did not. To submit to randomized drug screens. She did not. Complete an OSAR evaluation. She did not. Complete a psychosocial evaluation. She did not attend individual counseling. She did not. And locate and identify a social support group. She did tell me that her support group was Miguel's family.
Now, can you go through each service for Miguel Cervantes and state whether or not it was completed?
Yes, ma'am. We were also asking Miguel Cervantes to keep in contact with me and comply with each requirement of his family plan of service. He did not. We were asking him to maintain stable housing and provide proof of employment. He did not. We were asking him to submit randomized drug screens. He did not. Complete an OSAR evaluation or a substance abuse assessment, and he did not. Complete a psychosocial evaluation. He did not. Actively participate in parenting classes. He did not. Demonstrate proper parenting techniques during visitation. He did not. And that was his family plan of service.
Okay. Now, in addition to failing to comply with your request to drug screen, was he also court ordered to, let me rephrase that. Was both Rebecca and Miguel court ordered to drug screen by hair follicle and urinalysis drug screen in the initial permanency hearing order?
Yes.
Okay. Going further back, were they also ordered to urinalysis and hair follicle drug screen in the status hearing order?
Yes.
And also going further back, were they ordered to urinalysis and hair follicle drug screen in the adversary hearing order?
Yes.
To your knowledge, were any of these testings completed?
No.
Were you able to locate Rebecca Stanley each month during the case?
No.
Can you please describe your efforts to locate?
So we, per policy, have to make 3 different attempts to locate parents. So each month I would go by their last known address. I've gone to their suspected place of employment. I've done jail searches monthly, as well as submitted finder searches for both Miguel and Rebecca, and visited those addresses that were listed, and I was unable to locate them.
Now, I'm going to ask that question now in regards to Miguel. Can you please describe your efforts to locate Miguel Cervantes?
Yes, so I visited their last known address, his place of employment. I've done the jail searches and finder search on Miguel.
And have you been able to locate him during the case?
I met with him face to face in April, and then I was able to locate him in the Potter County Jail this month.
Do you have any knowledge of why he was in Potter County Jail this month?
Nothing that he told me. He didn't want to speak about it, but I have seen his charges.
To your knowledge, has he been released from Potter County Jail?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. When you spoke with Miguel Cervantes while he was in jail, did he give you a phone number for for Rebecca Stanley?
Yes, he did give me a new phone number.
Did you make attempts using that phone number to contact Rebecca?
Yes.
And did she respond?
She did not.
Okay. Now, going back to the visitation, has Rebecca consistently visited with Gabriel?
No.
Okay. Has Miguel Cervantes consistently visited with Gabriel?
No. And for Miguel, we were waiting on him to take the paternity test before we sat down and scheduled visitation for him.
Your Honor, I request judicial notice of the order for genetic testing signed by the court on December 15th of 2023.
So noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Abigail, did St. Francis attempt to set appointments for those genetic tests?
Yes.
And was Miguel Cervantes informed of those appointments?
Yes.
Did he ever attend any?
He did not.
Did he ever provide a sample?
He did not.
Okay. Additionally, in regards to visitation, is it correct that Rebecca and Miguel's visitation with the child was suspended until they could provide both a negative urinalysis drug screen and a negative hair follicle drug screen?
Yeah, any in-person visitation. Due to the child placement, it was looking like those visits would be virtual. And so then we might have had a little bit more room to set those up a little quicker, but.
Your Honor, at this time, I offer petitioner's exhibit number 3, the status hearing order in this case.
Okay, objections?
No objection.
All right, petitioner's 3 submitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I next offer petitioner's exhibit number 4, the initial permanency hearing order before final order.
Objections?
Also no objection.
Okay, 4 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is the department's long-term plan for the child?
If parental rights were to be terminated, we would be looking at the home that he's currently in to adopt.
And is the placement he's currently in, is that a fictive kin placement?
Yes, it is.
Can you explain to the court what the tie for that family is to Gabriel?
The family has known Gabriel's mother, Rebecca, since she was a child. And they've kept in contact over the years, and they have a trusting relationship between the two as far as Rebecca knows that her children are safe there.
And prior to Gabriel's removal, did Miguel Cervantes and Rebecca Stanley already have an ongoing CPS removal case for their older child,
Yes.
Angel Ray? And to your knowledge, have their parental rights been terminated to that child?
To my knowledge, yes.
Your Honor, we next offer petitioner's exhibit number 5, the order of termination for Angel.
All right, objections?
No.
All right, petitioner's 5 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I next ask for judicial notice that the termination grounds are N, for constructive abandonment, and for O, failure to complete the service plan for both parents in that case.
Okay, so noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Rebecca, to your knowledge, did Rebecca complete services for the Bexar County case?
To my knowledge, no, she did not.
To your knowledge, did Miguel Cervantes complete services for the Bexar County case?
No, he did not.
And is that child, Angel, also in the same placement that Gabriel is currently in?
Yes.
And is that his biological brother?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you please describe your reasonable efforts to reunify the family?
I have created the family plans of service to mitigate the reasons of the removal. I have made monthly attempts to locate each parent so that I can assist with getting the services complete. I have offered my own transportation to get them where they needed to go. I've completed finder searches for each parent. I've sent the providers the referrals for each parent, and I've ensured my availability to them by continuing to try and get in contact with them.
Did you also request the court to order drug screening?
Yes.
Now, in regards to visitation, would it be fair to say that that Rebecca has not maintained meaningful contact with the child?
That would be fair to say, yes.
Okay. And would that be true also for Miguel Cervantes?
Yes.
Has the child been in the care of the department for at least 6 months?
Yes.
And would you agree that neither Rebecca nor Miguel has shown that they have a safe and stable place for the child?
Yes.
In regards to the service plan, do you consider that Rebecca Stanley completed her service plan?
No.
do you think that Miguel Cervantes completed his service plan?
No.
Has a child been in the care of the department for at least 9 months?
Yes.
And has the department made reasonable efforts to reunify the family?
Yes.
Is it in Gabriel's best interest that the department be named permanent managing conservator?
Yes.
Can you give your best detailed answer why?
If the department is named permanent managing conservator of the child, he will have the opportunity to be adopted and grow up in a home with his biological brother.
And is it in the child's best interest that Rebecca Stanley's parental rights be terminated?
Yes.
Can you please explain why?
Due to the incompletion of her service plan, the reasons for removal have not been mitigated, as well as the lack of communication. It leaves no basis to see where she's at or what she's currently doing. So
now, in regards to Miguel Cervantes, is it in Gabriel's best interest that the parental rights of Miguel Cervantes be terminated?
yes.
Can you please explain why?
Miguel also did not complete or begin his family plan of service, so the reasons for removal have not been mitigated, as well as his lack of compliance with paternity testing to prove that he is the biological father of the child.
Now, during the case, what statements has Rebecca Stanley made in regards to who the father of Gabriel is?
When I had spoke to Rebecca, she did not give me any other names for father other than Miguel.
And when you have spoken to Miguel, what statements has he made regarding whether or not he's the father of Gabriel?
This month when I visited him, he told me that he does not think he is the biological father of Gabriel, but he claims him as his own son.
And prior to this month, had he made any other statements regarding Gabriel?
He did not. Sorry. When I met with him in April, he did want to do the paternity testing before he began services.
And did you set those appointments up for him?
Yes.
And did he attend those appointments?
No.
Do you recall approximately how many appointments you set up?
3, I want to say 2 or 3.
And was Miguel Cervantes notified of those appointments?
Yes.
Do you believe that Rebecca and Miguel can, let me cut these questions up. Apologies. Do you believe that Rebecca Stanley can provide for the emotional and physical needs of the child now and in the future?
No.
And what statements, if any, has Rebecca made about methamphetamine use during the case?
Back in April, she did tell me that she was currently using.
Do you believe that with methamphetamine use, she presents an emotional and physical danger to the child?
Yes.
In your opinion, does Rebecca Stanley have the parental abilities to take care of the child?
No.
And likewise, with your inability or your struggle to keep her location known to you, would you agree that she does not have stability?
I would agree.
Now, in regards to, just a moment, Your Honor, I've got an incoming call. I apologize. I know it's an intake. Let me message Courtney and ask her to take the call.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Now, Abigail, in regards to Miguel Cervantes, do you believe that he is able to provide for the emotional and physical needs of Gabriel?
No.
Do you believe he presents an emotional and physical danger to the child?
Yes.
And do you believe that the domestic violence issue has not been addressed?
It has not.
And would you also agree that the alleged substance abuse by Miguel has not been addressed?
Yes.
Your Honor, we next offer Petitioner's Exhibit 6, the complaint against Miguel Cervantes for assault on a family member household. It's out of Potter County. It is a certified copy, and the cause number is 85406. 6-1C.
All right, objections?
No
object.
Objection.
District 6 is admitted.
I object, Your Honor. It's an allegation only complaint. It's not a conviction, and it's hearsay.
Overruled. District 6 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And ask the court to take notice that in that complaint, it identifies Rebecca Stanley as the victim.
Okay, so noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department next offers petitioners exhibit number 7, the order of deferred adjudication.
Objections?
No objection.
Okay, District 7 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Abigail, going back to best interest, and let me ask Amy. Amy, did I ask about best interest in terminating Miguel Cervantes' rights?
No, you just did emotional and physical danger.
Okay, thank you. Now, Abigail, is it in Gabriel's best interest that Miguel Cervantes' parental rights to the child be terminated?
Yes.
Can you give a detailed answer as to why?
He did not complete his family plan of service, so we cannot mitigate the reasons for removal. He has been very inconsistent with his communication with me and scheduled appointments that he has stated he would attend. And so because of those and the lack of relationship with the child, I think it's in the child's best interest that his rights be terminated.
Now, during the case, has Mr. Cervantes ever contacted you to ask how Gabriel is doing?
No.
Has Rebecca Stanley ever called you to ask you how Gabriel is doing?
No.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lawrence, I think Ms. Gutierrez might have asked you this, but were the service plans for the parents reasonable efforts to return the child to the parents?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe you've already answered this. They've not maintained any kind of regular visitation or contact with the child, correct?
Correct.
So would you say based on that each of them has demonstrated an inability to provide the child with a safe environment?
Yes.
And basically they constructively abandoned the child?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Lawrence, I believe the last permanency report you had outlined Rebecca's progress up to, I believe, July 24th. Has Rebecca completed or initiated any services since that time?
No, sir.
Okay. And you had previously testified that you had received her telephone number. Has she made any contact with you?
No, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Did Miguel actually speak like he was willing to take the paternity test, but then just failed to show up and actually follow through?
Yes, sir. He told me that he'd be there and he didn't show up.
And that's basically the same attitude he had with regard to the service plans. He was willing to, if it was shown that he was the father, but there was no follow through on any of it.
Yes, sir.
And as far as you know, he's still in jail at this point in time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Saint?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Lawrence, has Mr. Cervantes been served?
I believe so. He was present for a hearing.
Right. You think he was? So you're not saying you're saying you don't know if he was served, but he was present. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you spoke to the mother in this case, did you ask her if there were any other possible fathers?
So I guess I didn't ask, that verbatim. No, sir.
Did you just ask who is the father, or is Mr. Cervantes the father?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is Mr. Cervantes the father?
But as Mr. Cervantes has said, he doesn't think he's the biological father. There is a realistic chance that somebody else is the father. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Have you been the caseworker on the whole case the whole time?
Yes, sir.
And I know she'll be testifying at a later date, but do you know if mother was asked that question during the investigation?
Yes,
I
believe so.
The question that I asked about other possible fathers.
But I guess I couldn't say for sure.
Okay. And when you spoke to Mr. Cervantes and he said he didn't think he was the biological father, did he have any idea who could be the father?
No, sir.
Okay. Will you be speaking to him again anytime soon?
No, sir, not for this month, which I guess is almost over, but
And when was the last time you had contact with Ms. Stanley?
back in April.
And does she have you tried calling her?
Yes, sir.
And does she not return your calls?
She does not.
Okay. And is there anybody else? Does she have a relative or somebody in the area who might know of any other possible fathers?
I'm unsure. I was given the phone number for Miguel's mother by Miguel, who was reported to be living with Rebecca. I've called her and texted her as well, and I've received no response.
Okay. After this hearing, could you send me that phone number?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Stanley, or she doesn't have a mother or close relatives in this area that you're aware of?
No, sir. Her mother, I believe, is in California.
Okay. And have you had any contact with her?
I have not.
Do you have contact information for her?
I do not.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Abigail, has there been a paternity registry search conducted in this case?
I have not done one.
Are you aware that one has been completed and filed with the court?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I ask you to take judicial notice of the paternity registry search filed with the court on March 21st of 2024.
Is he frozen?
It said my internet connection was unstable. I didn't hear Harry's question or her answers.
Judge, I asked about a paternity registry search, and then I asked that you take judicial notice of the paternity registry search certificate that was filed with the court on March 21st of 2024.
Okay. Okay, I will take notice of that.
I also ask you to take judicial notice of the service from Miguel Cervantes from May 7th of 2024.
Okay. So noted.
Abigail, do you further believe that it'd be in Gabriel's best interest that any unknown father's parental rights be terminated in the case?
Yes, sir.
Pass witness.
All right. Anyone have further questions for Ms. Lawrence?
I just have two follow-up questions regarding service plans, Your Honor.
Okay.
Abigail, can you tell me what attempts you made to go over the service plan with Miguel Cervantes?
I met with him in April 2024, and I went over the service plan.
Okay. And was he given a copy?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you spoke with him in jail, did you attempt to engage him in services?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me about that conversation?
I asked him to look into the parenting classes that are offered at Potter County.
Okay. And that was during the month of August 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And regarding Rebecca, can you tell me about your efforts to go over the service plan with Rebecca?
I met with her face-to-face in April 2024. We went over the service plan, and she was given a copy.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Anyone else? No?
No judgment.
Okay.
Yeah. At this time, I ask that we recess and reconvene so I can have the investigator come in and prove up the department's reasonable efforts to prevent removal.
All right. How long do you want to reconvene?
If it fits on the 23rd, I think the 23rd would do.
Your Honor, James St. Here, that date is good for me.
Okay. Mr. Michelson?
That works for me too also, Your Honor.
Okay. What did we say, 12:30?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
I'm good with that, Your Honor.
Okay. Let me ask you, Ms. Gutierrez, are you asking that I adjudicate Mr. Cervantes as the father for failure to comply with the paternity testing?
I think the evidence weighs against that at this point, Your Honor. But if the court feels that that's necessary, I can tailor my request for termination. I'm not planning on asking you to adjudicate him as the father at this time. But I'd like to reserve getting with my client and checking in with them.
Well, if I was going to rule today, would you be asking that I terminate any rights he has based on his failure to register with the paternity registry?
I think that the evidence that the investigator could offer would support adjudicating Mr. Cervantes as the child's father, and then we would ask for termination on the 161.001 grounds.
Okay. that's, I think that's what I was asking anyway. So, but I just won't do it today. I'll do it when we reconvene. So I think I've heard everything I need today to adjudicate him under 160.622B for failure to comply with a court-ordered paternity test. But okay, we'll deal with it on the 23rd when we reconvene. So, okay, then at this time we will stand in recess, and again we will reconvene on September 23rd, 2024 at 12:30 p.m. That will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of September 23rd to see exactly what time we will well, no, we already have our time, so forget that. We'll see you back on the 23rd at 12:30.
Case. We're here on a compliance hearing. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Ms. Mullinax is with us representing the mother, Ms. Blackwell. I don't see her in the waiting room. Ms. Mullinax, were you expecting her?
No, Your Honor, she started a job today, and so I told her that it was okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. I have Karen Biter with St. Francis, Megan Jepcott, and Rachel Baca in the waiting room.
If you could let all of them in, I think one of them's the family first, one of them's my worker, and one of them's a supervisor. So.
Okay. Okay, it looks like they're all with us. I don't have anyone else in the waiting room, so Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I call Rachel Baca. And how is the child doing in the home?
She's doing really well. Her behaviors have improved at home and at school. So she's doing good. We're trying to get her into counseling. We've had some trouble finding a female provider, but we do have her scheduled for May 29th of this month. Yeah.
And as Ms. Mullinax stated, the mom is starting a job today. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that with the city of Amarillo?
Yes, that's correct.
And in regards to the child, it appears that she's going to go into daycare for the summer. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's already been set up to be provided for the family.
Yes, it has.
And regarding Ms. Blackwell, how is she progressing in her services?
She's doing really well. She missed her last 2 counseling appointments, but she is planning on rescheduling to finish those. The only thing, we don't have a psychiatric evaluation. We don't really feel like it's necessary since she's already receiving treatment with her personal provider, and she's on psychotropic medications.
Are we asking, it appeared from your report that she was not signing the release for the mental health treatment provider. Is that still correct?
That's correct.
Are we asking the court to order her to sign that release so we can verify that she's following that service?
I don't believe so at this time. She's been showing me her medication and her prescription bottles. And so I believe that's good enough. If that becomes an issue, then we can request it at a later date.
Okay. Are we requesting a UA drug screen?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. And when does she have any particular days off or time off?
I don't know yet. Today was going to be her first day.
Okay. And so, Judge, I would ask, I know that she just started a job and I understand that, but we would request a UA at a convenient time that we can do it.
Okay.
Is there anything else that needs to be ordered for the mother?
No, I don't believe so.
And just to clarify, that UA drug screen is an alcohol screen as well. Is that correct? Since that is the issue that we're dealing with.
I'm sorry, you cut out. I didn't.
Okay. Are we requesting that the UA is an alcohol screen as well, since that's the issue that we're
Yes,
here?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else that needs to be ordered regarding the child?
No, not at this time.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Ms. Bucket, did you say that had she originally been asked to do a psychiatric or a psychosocial?
Well, both. And she did the psychosocial. Just she chose to go with her own provider for her psychiatric evaluation.
Okay.
And
so to be sure the court the orders are clear, then I could go ahead and order today that she not undergo the psychiatric evaluation that was previously requested because she's getting her own treatment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Ms. Mullinax.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Baca, with regard to Andrea, their drugs have not been an issue in this case, correct?
No.
So really the UA is just to check for alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you said that she's doing everything she's supposed to be doing. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And she's done very well, hasn't she?
She has.
And you said that you had a hard time getting Claire into a counselor, I guess. Do you know who she's going to be seeing?
She's going to be seeing Rebecca Gonzalez. It's associate with Family Support Services.
And since today was Andrea's first day, you don't know her schedule or anything, I'm guessing. Is that right?
I do not. That's correct.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Swiggins, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Okay, Ms. Mullinax, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, rest.
Okay, Mr. Ingram, recommendation?
Just to continue with the order to participate, Claire seems to be doing very well by all reports, and she reports she's happy and healthy and everything's going well.
Okay, great. All right, then, I will order that Mother, Ms. Black will continue working the service as previously ordered. I will amend the previous orders to reflect that Ms. Black will not be required to undergo the psychiatric evaluation that had been previously ordered. And I will order that Ms. Black will submit to a UA drug screen, including alcohol screening, as soon as she can do so without jeopardizing her new job. Do we want another compliance hearing in this case?
Yes, Judge.
How far out?
2 months.
Okay, 22nd will be our next compliance hearing. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket if they are so in advance of July 22nd to see. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the children. Mr. Wilson is with us representing Mr. Salinas, the father who I show is incarcerated. The mother of the children is deceased. I have Emily Braden, Alicia Walker, and Colby Hall in the waiting room. Ms. Wiggins, you can call your first witness.
Thank you, Judge. I would ask the court to take judicial notice of some things before we proceed.
Okay.
You could take judicial notice of the order of aggravated circumstances filed on March 19th of 2024.
All right. So noted.
And then judicial notice of both CCEJ vital statistic requests that were filed on 4/16 of 2024, indicating no other court of continuing exclusive jurisdiction exists.
All right. So noted.
And then judicial notice of Texas Penal Code 1902, Section B1 and Section C.
All right. I don't have those in front of me, so if we get to them and you need to kind of refresh my memory. Yes. But I will note that you've asked that I take judicial notice of them.
And then judicial notice of Texas Penal Code Section 12.32.
Okay. So noted.
And is there an Officer Reyes now in the waiting room, Judge, or just
No,
the
ma'am.
same?
Just Emily Braden and Colby.
Okay, I'll start with Colby Hall then.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Hall, how are you currently employed?
City of Emerald Police Department.
And are you a certified police officer?
I am.
And how long have you worked for the Amarillo Police Department?
May 11th, 2023.
And on February 3rd of 2024, were you working in the capacity of an Amarillo police officer?
I was.
And what shift were you working?
First shift.
And what approximate times are those?
It's about 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., I believe.
And at approximately 2:50 a.m., were you dispatched to a location?
Yes, ma'am.
And what location was that?
I do not remember what the address was, but it was, we were dispatched on at first it was a guy who shot his wife.
Okay. And were you informed by dispatch that that was what you were responding to?
Yes, ma'am.
And based on that information, how did you respond to the scene?
We turned on our overhead license sirens and began code 3.
And when you arrived at the scene, what did you observe?
There was a guy in the front yard with multiple officers already taking care of him.
Okay. And what do you mean by taking care of him?
They had him on the ground. He was there. They all took care of him. They all had him under control. And I was waved down to come to the front door with other officers.
Okay. And at that time, did he, when you say take control, did that mean he was no longer a threat or danger to anyone at the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you got to the front of the residence, I guess he sent you a chat. Mr. Wilson did, Judge.
Oh. His chat just said, I'm trying to talk and my voice is obviously not coming through. All right, Mr. Wilson back with us. Mr. Wilson, can you hear us?
I can, Judge. I apologize. I don't. Yeah, I know last time I was with you, I had those problems. Brought a whole new cam that I thought had worked, and I'm sorry. I was trying to before this. I apologize to the court. When was this set for a final hearing? I have not been in this case but a couple of weeks, and I have no notice of anything that was a final hearing. I have a permanency report.
It was set. Excuse me. It was set at our initial permanency hearing, which was on March 25th, 2024. We announced it in open court.
All right. Well, okay. Guess that was good of prior counsel to let me know about that. I just have to tell the court I'm not ready in any way, shape, or form to proceed, and would have made arrangements to attempt to have my client available, if possible. If they're going to proceed to determine his rights today.
Yeah, well, okay. I understand your predicament. So that is obviously that's the department's position is to terminating. That's why they asked for aggravated circumstances. So if you want to try and arrange to have him here, then obviously I'm not going to proceed. I don't want to have to try this twice. So how long do you need, Mr. Wilson, to prepare?
Because I don't need that. I mean, I would ask for at least a month. I'm not trying to. I don't know that I need that much. I just need that for scheduling purposes and to attempt to get my feet wet in it enough to be of somewhat assistance to Mr. Salinas. And I apologize profusely to the court and to counsel. I had no idea. To be quite honest, never been in a CPS case that moved that fast before, so didn't have any idea they were going to proceed.
Yeah, well, again, it's the reason it is it's if you're familiar with the aggravated circumstances, you see the order. It provides for accelerating the hearing, but obviously you had no notice of it. So, while we're all here,
Judge, I have June 17th. I'm sorry, the June 17th docket's pretty light. It's just mostly status hearings.
Mr. Wilson, will that give you time?
That'll be fine, Judge.
We're here on a motion to participate. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the mother, Ms. Hudson. That's all the parties. I have in the waiting room Rachel Copeland, FIS, Angelica Garcia, Rissy Walker, she's a FBSS supervisor, and Kendra Bates, FBSS worker.
Your Honor, since this was a TFF filing, I think all of those people are going to be participating in the hearing.
Okay.
And I see Mr. Michelson is here. I'm so glad.
Yes, I'm just barely finished. I was wondering if I could spend a few minutes with Miss Hudson.
Sure.
To talk over the motion. Well, okay.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad you said that, Mr. Michelson, because when I read the affidavit on a 15-page affidavit, by the way, on like the last or next to the last page, it said that mother's willing to do the TFFF case, and that's. Right. I've sent out an email about this earlier. I met with some TFF workers, and I know I sent out an email to everybody saying they have a big concern that we're waiting to have these hearings, and they're afraid some of these parents are going to get cold feet. And a TFF case is only by agreement. So I'm wondering why we're not getting agreed orders on these rather than setting them for a hearing. So that's a concern.
That would make sense to me too, is that if they're in agreement, then it's more efficient than having a hearing. So,
well, I mean, I'll put you in a breakout room. You can talk to her, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have a TFF case unless the parent or parents are willing to participate in the program. So I'd like an answer to that when we come back. I'll go ahead, Mr. Michelson. I'll put you and your client in a breakout room.
Thank you.
Ms. Hudson, you may be asked to join this breakout room, or it may just put you in there automatically. We'll see y'all when you come back. All right, where do we stand?
McKenna Hudson is in agreement, as the affidavit states, to do services.
All right, pursuant to the TFF, being a TFF case?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so is Ms. Gutierrez, is there any need for a hearing?
Your Honor, I don't believe so. I do think to explain, last week was very, very intense. I apologize for not being able to get a proposed order to Mr. Michelson. I was actually out sick all day Friday, which would have been my first opportunity to prepare an agreed order and get it to him. But I was completely out of commission, Your Honor. I apologize for that. I was not able to even log on and do any work that day. I can ask Melodies, since you were asking about the TFF and the agreement portion of it. Yeah. Melody, are you able to answer the judge's question about whether or not a parent's agreement is necessary for a TFF case to be ordered?
It's mandatory. Complete agreement in order for us to send him to Texas Family First.
Right.
Okay.
So I understand, Ms. Gutierrez, you've explained why we didn't have an agreed order today, but just I'm going to keep harping on this, that in the future, if the parent or parents agree to do it, we need to try and get an agreement done, get it signed immediately, again, because they tell me when I met with them that they're concerned that, as I said, some of the parents might get cold feet and decide not to participate. And then, number one, they could be starting services already. And number two, they're tying up a limited space for TFF cases, and then they back out at the last minute. So that's just for future reference.
And Your Honor, since the filing is so close to the hearing date, because this is one of the cases, just when I know the court was slammed, there hasn't been enough time between the filing and this hearing for us to do the service plan with the TFF worker and get that filed. And that's typically, we have that ordered in the initial order. But if we could go ahead and set like a status hearing out, maybe just how long do y'all need, Melody, for the next hearing to get that service plan done?
I'm gonna let Rissy answer that.
Yeah, Ms. Gutierrez, Kendra Castillo Bates is the FBSS worker, and she was able to file the plan of service last Friday.
Okay, let me go in because I thought I did not see that. Let me go in and check it right now again.
It was late in the afternoon.
Okay. Is it labeled as a compliance hearing report? Is that what happened?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, I'm checking right now. Thank you for your patience, Your Honor.
Sure.
Okay, it's labeled, the label on the filing is a compliance hearing report because that's the cover sheet that was put on it. So I apologize for not recognizing that off the bat that was a service plan. Jay, have you, is that the service plan that we are in agreement for your client to complete? Did he drop off, Your Honor?
I'm sorry. No, I'm here. For some reason, my phone wasn't responding. Yes, I believe that's the agreement.
Okay, Your Honor, we're asking for that service plan filed on the 17th to be included in that order for recommended services, and I'll send that proposed order over to Mr. Michelson as well to sign off on, Your Honor.
Okay, what date did you say it was filed?
Let me go back to that first page.
And what was it called?
It's May 17th of 2024. And what was your second question, Your Honor?
What was it called?
It's called a compliance hearing report, but it is the service plan that the department prepared.
Right, I'm just going to say it's as contained in the compliance hearing. What did you say? Because it'll
report.
Okay, that way, if anybody's confused, they can go back and find that in how it's been filed. So, okay. Mr. Ingram, are you in agreement with this?
Judge, I suppose I am. However, I need to inform the court that we have been unable to contact Kinley. Made multiple attempts through the mother and never got the phone answered or calls returned. So was able to contact Kimber and her father, but have not been in touch with Kinley or the mother.
All right. When do you want to do it? If you want to, let's just set a time and I'll order it.
I'll defer to Andy, Your Honor, if I may.
Okay.
This afternoon at 4:30 would be great.
All right. Andy, are you gonna be in on our 4:15 hearing? You may not can make it yourself.
Let's make it 5 o'clock, just to be safe.
All right. And how you gonna do it?
I will call Ms. Hudson on her cell phone, the number I was provided.
Okay, give me just a second here. All right, then. I will approve the agreement as announced today. I will order Ms. Hudson to work the services as contained in the compliance hearing report filed with the court on May 17th, 2024. And I will order Ms. Hudson to make Kinley available by phone this afternoon at 5 o'clock p.m. to Mr. Ingram and or Ms. Orr. Okay, that will conclude this hearing. Appreciate y'all working that out. We're here, I guess. I will be back at another permanency review after final order. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Casa is with us, and Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Let me just run down. A lot of these are for the next hearing, but I have Jennifer Campos and Demi Saucedo, and then someone on a phone line.
Jennifer Campos is the only one that I need in the hearing, Your Honor. The other names that might be relevant, I think Kayla Martinez may or may not be there. If she's not, it's okay. And then Carla, was the Casa going to go ahead and attend?
We've got Carla with us already.
I'm doing that today.
The actual appointed person.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
She just got appointed, so she's reviewing with us today on Zoom. She's looking at it, but
She's not participating in the actual hearing.
Carla, is she on Zoom or is she on YouTube?
Well, I'm sorry, she's on YouTube. My apologies. Thank
Well,
you.
I guess maybe I'll get the phone line in right now just to see who it is. That's probably, I think that's everybody in this case, but at least maybe I can figure out who that person is. All right, this is Judge Graham. I've let somebody into our hearings on a phone line ending in 506. Can you tell me who you are?
Yes, sir. Crystal Salazar.
All right, and you are for the next case, Ms. Salazar, so I'll put you back in the waiting room. We'll get to you around 2:30 or so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, Ms. Gutierrez, I guess we're ready to go.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think I'll just call Jennifer Campos as my witness. She's got some updates for us.
All right, Ms.
And
Campos.
we were here just about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Can you give us some updates since that time?
Yes, ma'am. Subsidy paperwork has been submitted. They actually have negotiation for subsidy on May 22nd, and we are looking at placement on May 30th.
Okay. And are we asking that the court order a visit for the child to the potential adoptive placement from 5:20 today, May 20th to May 30th?
Yes, ma'am.
And would that allow the child to be in his future adoptive home starting now rather than waiting another 10 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to the court how that would help the child?
He is very bonded with the family. I actually went out and saw him there this month, and he was very happy. He was like a totally different child. If he was to stay in his current placement, he would have to go to daycare, and he would be the oldest child in the daycare, and he doesn't want to do that. So he wants to go stay with his adoptive family.
And to your knowledge, is the adoptive family agreeable with him staying there starting now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any other updates on the child at this time?
No, just Major's doing very well. He's like done a 360 since being placed, and being able, and getting more clarification on when he was going to be placed. When I told him that he was going to be placed on May 30th, he was ecstatic, and he's just happy to be with this to be over with.
Good. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, so basically he knows that he's not going to be the ping pong ball anymore after this time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Mr. Ingram?
I have no questions.
Okay. Ms. Gutierrez, anything else from the department?
There's not, Your Honor, unless there's something that the court is wanting to know or is curious about. I don't think we have any more updates for you.
All right. And Ms. Campos, the adopted placement, they're the Duncans, right?
Yes, sir.
What are their first names?
Hayden
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Are we on YouTube right now or are we off?
No, we are on.
Okay.
I can stop it.
If we could, Your Honor, please. I'm sorry. I've been careful. St. Francis and the department request that the first names not be